It's the Jeremy Haselwood Show. What's good? What's good? Let's get ready to go.
Welcome to the Jeremy Haselwood Show. Plug in, turn it up.
Let's go.
Hey, hey. Welcome to the Jeremy Haselwood Show. Push play, let it roll.
Let's go.
What's good? Welcome to my show. In 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Jeremy Haselwood Show. This podcast is all about exploring a wide range of topics that spark curiosity, build community, inspire action, and deepen our understanding of the world around us. Each season, we dive into a new theme, offering fresh perspectives and insights that are practical, informational, entertaining, and thought-provoking. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe now on whatever platform you're seeing or hearing this by smashing that follow or subscribe button. In Season 3, we are shining the spotlight on women business owners, the trailblazers, innovators, and leaders who are redefining what it means to build with purpose. Each episode will bring you stories, strategies, and inspiration straight from the women who are creating businesses that make an impact. This season, we're going to celebrate and learn from the powerful voices of women in business. Now, today's guest, let me take my breath here, is the nationally recognized, licensed board certified therapeutic optometrist and dry eye expert, founder and clinical director at Visionary Dry Eye Institute and Brilliant Eyes Vision Center. Welcome to the show, Dr. Janelle Davison.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
Sure. To start off with, I know you have your hands in a few things right now. So tell us a little bit about Brilliant Eyes and what led to the Visionary Dry Eye Institute.
So yeah, great. So I'm an optometrist. I've been practicing. This is my 19th year now. Brilliant Eyes Vision Center is my main location where we do glasses, contact lenses. We co-manage for LASIK, cataract surgery, and glaucoma as well. I started that practice cold 15 years ago. So that means I didn't have a record to my name. I built that practice from the ground up. I jokingly say my initial place that I leased used to be a Washington Mutual, and Washington Mutual is long gone. And I built that practice, ground roots, really getting involved in the community, setting myself apart with different services that we provide. And then in 2020, we relocated from Marietta to Smyrna. In that process, I really figured out what my passion was, which was managing ocular surface disease, specifically dry eye. And because I have dry eye, I had LASIK and I had dry eye since the 90s. And the field is really starting to advance as far as diagnosing patients and the therapeutic options that are available. And that's how I started my practice. And so within that practice, I grew the dry eye specialty, and it did really well. And I really wanted to be able to focus and provide that time to patients because it does require a lot of counseling to understand you have a chronic that technically doesn't have a cure. And so I opened up a dedicated dry eye facility a year ago, and I kind of toggle between the two. I'm in the process of hiring an associate at my main location. She starts in November. I'm excited about that, so that way I can dedicate more time to that.
That's great. And congrats on the growth from starting one business, having success, and moving on and starting another one while maintaining your other business. That's no small feat. So what made you decide to start your own business?
I always wanted to have my own practice. When I was in optometry school, my goal was to work for so many years, gain a little experience. My goal was like within 5 years, start my own practice. So I worked in a corporate setting, and believe it or not, I got laid off back in like 2006, 2008, when like the housing market crashed, like things kind of went bad. And they were laying off a lot of doctors, and I was in a corporate setting and I got laid off. And so immediately I came up with Brilliant Eyes Vision Center. And so Brilliant Eyes has been around way longer than 15 years, but I practiced as like a relief doctor. So I drove around the various areas in Metro Atlanta as far as LJ, filling in for doctors, working in different practice settings. And that's when I really realized, okay, I definitely want to do private practice. And I started a little bit earlier than I anticipated, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. You really started it, I don't know if necessarily because of the layoff, but that certainly was a spark to do it, because I've talked to a lot of people recently who've been laid off, and I certainly encourage them. I'm like, whatever your passion is, like, try to start a business. And I know it's not for everybody, but talk about the fear you had of starting your own business versus let me just try to get on somewhere else?
I think the fear was an initial. I thought I had to work for so many years to gain experience. In school, they don't teach you a lot about the business aspect of it. So a lot of it, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not, and that's a lot of cases, a lot of careers that you go into, if you want to start your own business, you may not have that business background. Luckily, as a healthcare
Yeah.
provider, some of the marketing is done by just being a provider. We sell insurances,
Mm.
so that helps. And so a lot of other things, I reached out to other colleagues that have private practices. I started going to a lot of practice management conferences. So I have to get continuing
Mm-hmm.
education for disease states, but then I was doing like doubling up because I was getting practice management, how to run a practice, how to start a practice, how to market, how to get on insurance panels. I just reached out to a lot of people. There was fear, but there was
Yeah.
more motivation than the fear. After being laid off, I just didn't really
Yeah.
want my fate in anybody else's hands. And
Yep.
the biggest fear was figuring out how I was going to manage motherhood and started my own
Mm-hmm.
practice
Yep.
because my oldest is
Yeah.
16 and my practice is 15 years old.
Okay.
So he was like a toddler.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did the business
Yep.
plan on maternity leave, so that tells you how.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I know my company started out of a layoff. There's several other people that I know that started their company after a layoff because they wanted that freedom and flexibility and just to bet on themselves and not put their destiny in somebody else's hand. Starting your practice, starting an optometrist, obviously you need equipment. You have to build out your retail space. So I'm curious about two things. One, like how did you secure funding or where did funding come from? And talk about the build out of your first location.
Yeah, I think when the fear started to kick in, when I started to see those dollars, it was well
Yeah.
over $250,000 to start a
Mm.
practice. And of course, I had to take loans. I don't have
Wow.
that kind of money. Plus, I have student debt at the
Yeah.
time. I had a
Mm-hmm.
young child, was
Yep.
in daycare. I actually found a
Mm-hmm.
broker, and a broker was able to help me
Okay.
secure a business loan. He found a loan that was specific
Okay.
for healthcare providers. It was through Wells
Oh, nice.
Fargo at the time. And they had a
Okay.
process where you would get the loan, but you had to do so many check-ins every quarter, every month.
Mm.
There were
Mm-hmm.
times where it got dark. The business loan was for 10
Yeah.
years, and 10 years down the line, I paid it off.
Wow.
And so it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
COVID, my business loan was paid off, and it's
Congrats.
doable. A lot of times you have to
Yeah.
figure out how to make a way. But I got a broker who
Yeah.
found a resource for new practice owners, specifically optometrists, through Wells Fargo.
Yeah. Good. And I'll circle back to the build out in a second, but just with what you're saying, I think it's important for people listening. Like the money is out there and there's many ways to have capital for your business, and starting an optometrist business is not inexpensive. There's a lot of businesses that are less expensive that don't require the medical background that you have, but there's many ways. Someone may have a rich uncle, some may have money in the bank, some may have to secure those loans. But I'm always curious with entrepreneur, how did you get the money? Because I want people to know there's many ways to do it. When you look at that price tag, that $250K to start up, that would scare a lot of people away from doing it. So, for you to just believe in yourself and be like, I know this is a lot of money, but I believe in what I'm doing. And there's a market for it. People have bad vision. I'm one of them. So it's just kind of like believing that what you're doing is the right thing and that you're going to make that back plus more. So, definitely props to you for doing that. But tell me the story about the build out of the first location.
Yeah, the build out was interesting. Part of that loan, and then to be clear, it was well over 250. So I still get
Yeah.
scared when I hear I'm like, Jesus Christ, let me get off.
Yeah, yeah.
But we had to
Right.
secure an architect. We had to secure someone to
Yep.
be the kind of foreman. We had to get blueprints. We had to go through the state, the city, the county. So it was a lot of stuff. I literally had no clue. I was one of the first people in my family to have a brick and mortar business. I had family members that have businesses, but more online, but a brick and mortar. So I had to know all the insurances and things I had to get. So the first build out wasn't bad because I did get a contractor who specialized in building eye care facilities. So he was educating me more on things than I could educate him. And so he really took control of the project. He helped me to bid out the project. So he was the architect who did all the designs. He was starting his business. So it worked out perfect. For the longest, we stayed really close. I even recommended a few other optometrists who were starting their practice, but he was starting his own construction business, architect business. So he was leaving corporate America. Somehow we met. I can't remember if he was a referral. I can't remember how I met him, but he was in the infancy stages of his business. I was starting my business. He worked on a few projects as far as building out eye care facilities. So he was able to walk me through it. And then he was
Nice.
over the project to make sure we bid it out to the different contractors so we get the best possible pricing. I did have a lawyer and a realtor, a commercial realtor, to really help negotiate the lease because all that stuff I was clueless to. even with having
Yeah.
all those, I still got screwed. So the second time around, I knew. I was like, I know
Yeah.
exactly what not to do, what
Yeah.
to do. And some of the
Yep.
things the second time around, I just negotiated for myself on a lot of things. I was
Hmm.
able to
Hmm.
relocate, build out, and negotiate for a lot more funding for build out, which I got from the realtor,
Yeah.
the landlord the first time. But
Hmm.
the second time around and then the
Yeah.
third time around, I'm like, I know exactly what to do and what not to do.
Yep. Yep. You become an expert by that time. Yeah, that's a lot to manage. And you had your background in optometry, and like you said, there's so many new skills that you have to learn and know enough about, and also trust people. You know that they're not going to screw you over, and because you don't know something, so you tap in people who you hope will have your best interests in mind. So it's a lot of faith that you exhibited in order to do that. So that's pretty amazing. But it shows up because Brilliant Eyes on Google, over 1,000 reviews with a 4.9 rating. How is that possible?
Oh no,
That like,
because we do a good job. I always take pride in. I don't
yeah,
pay anybody for any reviews. We just
yeah,
make sure, we're not perfect, so it's not all 5 stars, not all 4.9, because we're humans.
sure,
But I
yeah,
take pride in that I don't pay anybody for anything. We come up every day.
yeah,
We show up as best as we can. I have some of the same trials that most business owners have with staff up and down. We just try to do the best we can
yeah,
every day. Be accountable when we need to be
mhm,
accountable, and then we just ask each patient that comes in. We don't cherry pick who to ask. We just ask every patient basically to share your experience. And so those are
yeah,
legit, organic. This is how it is. It's
yeah,
not perfect, but for the most part, we show up, and I like to say we show out. In the area, we're
yeah.
providing the best educational eye care that you can get in the vicinity, in the
Mhm.
area.
I'm giving you a moment. We're not going to call it bragging, but what is it about your leadership that you believe has the staff following your vision? Because reaching a 4.9 for any kind of service provider is extremely difficult. What are you instilling into your employees that are helping this move to such great reviews and a great
I
experience?
mean, leadership comes from the top down. I don't expect my staff to do
Hmm.
anything that I'm not willing to do. I'm first in, last
Yeah,
out. Even now, with my practice being 15 years old, I'll come in and you'll see me cleaning the toilets. And I think my staff sees that
yeah,
she's not only walking the walk and talking the talk, she's legit. Like, I don't expect them to do anything that
yeah,
I won't do. I'm very genuine. I'm
yeah,
very upfront. I'm very
hmm,
humble. For the most part, I usually don't, people don't really know what I'm doing most of the time. But I believe leadership starts from
yeah,
the top down. And
hmm,
your practice is a reflection of you. So I'm the business owner, I'm the main
yeah,
doctor in here. So anybody that comes in here, they're going to see whether another associate, an optometrist, or a staff member that this doctor, this CEO practices here, this founder, she's not asking anything of me that she would not do. And whatever I
yeah,
recommend for my
yeah,
patients, if I wouldn't recommend it for my parents, my siblings, my husband, I'm not going to recommend it for you.
yeah. I like that because it really goes back to really treating people how you want to be treated and the servant leadership, modeling behavior, because that's something that you don't get in
No.
chains, like chain optometry office or optometrist office. Like a lot of people are there because it's a job. They're there to collect a check. But when it's your own and you care about it so much, the way you move is a little bit different. So let's transition a little bit. So you have Brilliant Eyes. You now are leading the Visionary Dry Eye Institute. That sounds like a lot. Tell me your thought process to say, I already have a successful business going. I'm going to take it a step further and start a whole new thing. What was that process like in your mind?
That was passion driven because I was doing that service within my
Mm-hmm.
practice. I was one of the first in the industry to kind of bring this concept of a dry eye spa, and I was doing that in 2018. It got a little
Mm-hmm.
setback because of COVID in 2020. Once you start to do things for a while, I'm type A, I get bored easily. And so after a while, I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
need another adventure. I need something to keep me going, my wheels turning. And so I really enjoyed dry eye. And I thought that I could provide
Yeah.
the care at a different level if I was able to separate it out. And so I was talking to
Mm-hmm.
my husband, who's my business partner, and he's at the point now, he's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, if you think you can do it, I know you don't do anything without thinking it through. You've got the numbers written down.
Yeah.
It's pretty successful in here. The only thing is if we take it out, how can we balance that revenue potentially that was coming into this practice that we're not
Yeah.
going to have here? And so I had to do a
Yeah.
little bit of looking at the numbers, but it actually worked out really great for both practices. So Brain House is not down at
Yeah.
all. We just looked at our year to date. We're actually up 14%. And I'm not even
That's
over
great.
at Visionary more than a day and a half. And we've already profited.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever business loan I took out on that, I paid
Wow.
that off two
That's
months
awesome.
ago.
That's
And so,
amazing.
and
Yeah.
so I just make sure I'm really a stickler for looking at the numbers, does it make sense? In this case with dry eye, I just felt the care that patients need, and it's millions, upwards almost 30 million people in the US that have this condition that just recently has
Wow.
a true diagnosis globally that they need care, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mix very well with primary care. I'm happy with my decision.
Yeah.
It's my little
Yeah.
oasis because I really enjoy
Yep.
that aspect of it. So when I'm over there, it's busy,
Yeah.
but I really, it keeps giving
Hmm.
that spark back that I was looking for.
Yeah, that's great. And speaking of your husband, so business partner, what is that like to work with your husband? Because you're business partners, you go home, he's there. How do you do it? How do you have a successful marriage and business partnership without driving each other crazy?
That's a great question. My sister and her husband do the same thing. So they coached us through
Okay.
it. They're dentists and they do
Yeah.
the same thing. But he was
Okay.
always in the background, always kind of like the CFO. And when
Mm.
COVID in 2020, he decided to leave corporate America. He wasn't too happy, but he was very successful in
Okay.
corporate America. Works out perfect because he has
Mm.
a practice management background. He's an engineer and he's done some IT. So he comes in and helps with the
Okay.
edging. And so I jokingly tell my colleagues, if you're in fact steady and busy, I don't see him
Hmm.
because I'm seeing patients.
Yeah.
And so during the day,
Yeah.
it's kind
Yeah.
of no different as if he wasn't working here because I'm in the exam room back and forth
Gotcha.
seeing patients. He helps now to manage the staff. He's stepping back a little bit because we do have a software business as well. So that's a whole separate thing. But he's just
Okay.
staff. He does some edging. He helps with some of the interns. So he's taking more of a just keeping the practice running role. But when I'm in the exam room, I'm toggling between the two offices. I don't see him as much. So it's the same,
Yeah.
still crazy. I'll call him on the phone, drive it into the office, and then I'll call him driving
Yeah.
home. Sometimes we're in the office at the same time, but most of the time we're
Right.
kind of missing each other just like we'll be if he was working at a different location.
Right. Right. Okay. It's strategic scheduling.
Hmm.
The time apart keeps you together,
Yes.
just like a regular 9 to 5 if you work somewhere else. Now that's cool. So tell me about eye care. Why is it so important to you? Because clearly this is a passion of yours. You went to school to become an optometrist. You're advancing your work that you're doing with eye care. Why is it so important to you?
I grew up wearing glasses, so I started wearing glasses in seventh grade. So I have been wearing glasses for corrective lenses most of my life till I LASIK. But that's not really why I went into it. It's funny. I always wanted to be a healthcare provider.
Yeah.
So I wasn't athletics. I was always that
Okay.
kid that was volunteering at hospitals when I was like in middle school and in elementary school, which
Mm,
is crazy. But I decided
okay.
at one point I didn't want to dedicate it that much of my adult life to schooling. So it's like, what can I do to still
Yeah.
provide care, be involved in healthcare? And it was actually my optometrist that suggested I look into optometry. One
Mm,
side, she said it's a great field. The eyes are very essential and important to the overall health of the body. You can own your own business,
mm,
you can teach, you can speak, all the things that she said you can do with just adding on maybe four or
yeah.
five extra years of schooling post college. And so I went
Yeah.
back, found a mentor, and I was sold. But once I got into the field, I
Mm,
really understand how important the eyes are. It's legit that cliche, the eyes are the window to the soul. Eye care providers are one of
mm,
the few providers that can look into the back of the eye and see your blood vessels, see your arteries and veins, see
mm.
your brain, see your optic nerve. So I've helped diagnose
Wow.
brain tumors, I've diagnosed hypertension,
Wow.
diabetes. This is all literally just
Mm,
looking into the back of the eye, and I'm navigating a
yeah.
gateway to different providers. I've even had some patients come
Mm,
back where they're seeing these subspecialists, these neurologists, and they're like, who found this? Your eye doctor? Your optometrist? So
wow.
people underestimate
Wow.
how important the eyes are to the body and how the eyes can really tell me
Hmm.
how you're taking care of the overall health of your body, whether you partake into recreational activities. I can see those things in the eyes
Hmm.
and so I get really geeked out about it because it's really an
Yeah.
enjoyable field. Beside the glasses and contact lenses, you really can improve the overall health and function of a patient just
Yeah.
maintaining their overall eye health.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a really good point that you bring up, being able to see just the back of the eye, the brain, and the nerves, everything you're talking about. It's also an optional service at a lot of places. I think maybe even at your business, and because insurance sometimes doesn't pay for that, so people opt out of doing that. So, what would you say to people who are like, I'm good. I don't need to have that done. Like, what's your case to say, no, go ahead and do this additional scan because it doesn't cost that much, I don't think. And maybe it varies from practice
It,
to
it
practice.
varies, but I would say a minimum get a dilation. I can see a lot about the back of the eye with a dilation. Standard of care is dilation. So you
Okay.
should be dilation at minimum.
Okay.
All the other things are just adjunct. They're synergistic. Okay. So don't
Mm,
skip out on a dilation. It's something you need to do every year. So just like
yep.
you assume you go get blood work, you need to get a dilation at
Hmm.
minimum because People that will
Okay.
decline dilation will say, how's the health of my eyes? I'm like, I don't know, your guess is as good as
Mm.
mine. So it's like going to your primary care
Yeah.
doctor and declining blood work and to say, Doc, how do my levels look?
Mm.
Doesn't make sense. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's something that you need to plan
Yep.
on
Yep.
doing each year, whether you wear glasses or not, because there's several patients that we've caught end stage eye disease that was still seeing
Wow.
fairly clearly, right? You see clearly in certain
Mm.
pockets, but if it's not managed,
Mm-hmm.
5 years from now, you'll be blind. And so a lot of the eye diseases
Mm.
don't have symptoms in the early phases and even in the moderate to advanced. So just make it a part of something
Yeah.
you do every year. At minimum, opt to dilate because most of the time that is included. If you want to give your
Yeah.
doctor a more advanced look without having a diagnosis, then that's when you opt into those screenings. I appreciate those, they help.
Mm.
But at every visit, we're looking in the back of the eye, just how wide of a view are we going to be able to get? And the dilation,
Yeah.
it's not fun. I get it. But now they even have dilation reversal drops, which we offer in our office. So it's no excuse not to get dilated.
Oh,
Yeah, that's something we just
I didn't know about that. That must be some
it's,
new
it's
new.
new at the end of the year. So started
Yep.
this year. And so we have that now where we can reverse that dilation. So we get that process going back a lot faster. So now you have absolutely no excuse at minimum to get a dilation.
I get it dilated just so I can wear those cool little
So
glasses over my face. That way, you pull up at the stoplight after you leave the optometrist office, and yeah, people,
They know that's the
it
universal
ups your
sign.
swag a little bit.
You
They
just got
know.
eyes in.
Exact. People relate to it.
Like,
They're
oh,
like,
I
I
need to
see you.
go.
Yeah, it's a reminder. It's like marketing
Yep.
for you. Now, you may have answered this in the last question I just asked, but if there was one thing that you would want the general public to know about eye care, what would it be?
So, eye care is important. I really think that most people neglect their eyes until they're having a problem. So, there have been some surveys
Mhm.
that ask what is the thing that you fear the most. And most patients will actually say going blind. And then you'll ask them, what was the last time you had an eye exam? And they'll say, oh, maybe 3, 4 years ago. So there's a disconnect. So the
Mhm.
general public should understand getting your eyes checked should just be as frequent as you go for your routine wellness check with your primary care doctor and as often as you visit your dentist, right? So you need to go at minimum once a year. It can tell you a lot about the
Mhm.
health of your body, but also you only have one set, right? Thank God we have two. So if
Yeah,
something goes wrong with the other one, at least you have one eye you can work with,
true.
but you only get one set. And we haven't figured out how to
Yep.
completely replace that set. So a lot of times you need to
Mhm.
come regularly so that we can make sure that one set that you've been given is healthy and that it's working properly for you.
Yeah. Okay. If you could go back to when you first started your business, what would you tell yourself?
I gotta think all the way back. I was like I think I was like
That was
30.
a few years ago.
I
Come on
know,
now.
like, oh
Okay.
Lord. It's just be flexible, be fluid. 15 years in, I still don't
Mhm.
know what I'm gonna get each week. I still have the same woes as
Yeah.
a entry level entrepreneur. When you own your own business, you have to be fluid. You can't be uptight on type
Mhm.
A. And so you almost kind of
Yeah.
have to be, I'll take it day by day because you literally don't know what you're going to get each day when you own a business. So just be fluid.
Yeah. Okay. And you've been on this journey for a little while with starting the business to the successes and where you are now. What have you learned about yourself on this journey?
That I'm resilient. When my back is
Mhm.
against the wall, I'm able to panic a little bit, which I encourage. Panic is needed. That's part of the process,
Mhm.
but also turn that panic into
Yep.
purpose where I can
Mhm.
usually transition where I need to get whatever to next level I need to be. I'm resilient enough and I can always turn my panic into purpose.
Yeah. That's actually really important because I do think when people do hit that panic, it stops them dead in their tracks and they reverse course or they stop whatever the journey is. So it's something about sticking to it, knowing that the panic will come, knowing that there's going to be some pressure applied. Having your own business is the land of unpredictability, and you're going to have some really great days, great months, great years, and there's going to be some really challenging times. So I think it's just, at least from my perspective, is just believing that what you're doing is the right thing, that you're offering a product or service that you can stand behind, and just having faith in what's been given to you. So what would you say about that?
I mean, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. Entrepreneurship, I always jokingly tell my husband some weeks, I'm like, it's not for the weak, just like parenthood. It's not for the
Hmm.
weak.
Yeah.
There's no perfect
Hmm.
solution. You're going to have great years and you'll have some years that are a little slower, but just understand that it's fluid and being able to be okay to ride that wave and have resources. Resources are going to be time where you need to have access to capital, knowing when the slow
Yeah.
months are. Even in our industry, there's slow months. And then what are you going to do during those slow months?
Mm.
You know, how
Right.
to bring in additional services, things like that. You have a vision It's not the vision just to get the practice open. You always have to be, in my belief as a CEO, which I'm the CEO of the practice, you
Yep.
have to see what other people can't see, right? So a lot of times,
Right.
now my husband's my business partner. He's comfortably, okay, I didn't get it, but I'm glad we went this way. Because sometimes I'm like, no, we need to do this, we need to do that. I'm looking always 3-4 years, sometimes 5 years down the line. I'm looking at things like, I think we're gonna need to pivot, we're gonna need to do
Yeah.
this. That I'm good about seeing things before a lot of people see it, so that I can position or reposition my business or myself to make sure that we're still successful. I say $1 billion
Yeah.
businesses closed. COVID, they didn't survive. We
Yeah.
survived. We survived
Right.
the housing market crisis. We've survived. And so, but you always have to be a visionary when you say you're the CEO.
Yeah. It's great advice. Let's talk about legacy for a minute. What would you want your kids to say about you one day?
That I was a good person, that I was a good human. That's all I really care about. I did what I do because I care about people and I'm genuinely doing it to make a difference. All that stuff doesn't matter. I was a good person.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great that they can see you and your husband working together, having a successful business, because I believe when you're seeing that, you not only think that it's possible, you know it's possible. You see people that are successful or have a business maybe on TV or know someone that knows someone, but when it's right there in your home, really creating that environment where it's a confidence that your kids have to have that they don't even recognize, because it's just how it's always been for them, just seeing mom and dad working hard and seeing the fruits of the labor. So, definitely congrats to you on that. I want to ask you, if you could instill hope in another woman who's considering starting her own business, what would you say?
I would say just do it, but do it with a plan, do it with strategy, have faith, but faith without works is dead. So I always believe I'm a PK, so I always have faith. I'm always praying, but I know I have to do the work too. And so have faith that you can do it, but do the work, get resources, make sure people in your circle understand the journey, understand the vision. Everybody's not going to be able to be in your circle when you're starting your own business, even some family members. And then sometimes it's okay to let them back in once you get where things are stable. Some people get scared and they want to put their fear on you. And so you can do it. Don't let fear get you. Hope being that, I always like to be realistic too. It's not all princesses and ponies. It's rough. But if you have a plan, a strategy, and have that faith, you'll get through it.
Okay. That's a good answer. And I think it is important because there's a lot of that in this world. When you start your own business, whether it's a friend or family member that puts a lot of fear on you, like, oh, you shouldn't do that because of this. They tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't do it and everything that will go wrong. So being able to have like that fortitude to press on anyways. And sometimes you just have to find out for yourself. It's just going after it. And you may find out that it's not for you. You may think that you want to start a business, but if you never start it, you'll never know.
Exactly.
So no, that's really great advice. We've reached the time where we're pulling out the clarity cards. I got one for you here. This is, how do you incorporate self-care into your life?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How do you incorporate self-care into your life?
I would say I was bad about that for a decade. But now that my kids are a little bit older, they can take care of themselves. I incorporate a few things. My husband for Mother's Day got me a membership to a spa. So once a month, I try to get a massage and alternate that with a facial. That makes a big difference.
Great.
I've changed working hours. There was a time that I worked almost 6 days a week. I worked on weekends. I realized I cannot be everything for everybody. I stopped working Saturdays. I don't work weekends. If you need a weekend doctor, I'm not your girl. I've changed some hours that I work as late. So self-care, meaning massages, facials, but also modifying working hours where it balances and works better for my life. I'm taking ownership of me.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it sounds like some boundaries in place. That's really great. How can people contact you if they have questions? Because I know you also do speaking. What's a good place for people to contact you?
So I'm on social media platforms, LinkedIn at Dr. Janelle OD, Instagram as well. I do usually respond to any DMs or private messages. And then also, if you go to our website, braineyesvisioncenter.com, you're able to reach us there through the contact. And if you need a dry eye appointment, you're able to click on the dry eye appointment through there as well.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Davison, for joining. And thank you all for tuning in to the Jeremy Haselwood Show. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow or subscribe so you're always up to date when the latest episode drops. And until next time, keep following your dreams to find your purpose.
Let's go.